Hi everyone! Before we get started with this special episode, I want to explain that it was actually supposed to be released much sooner, and it was planned to be a lot shorter, but I had so much to say about this incredible game that I went way overboard, and before I knew it, this special episode ended up being longer than our first full-length episode on this channel. So I did get a bit carried away, but I didn't want to trim it down because I was happy with the results. So let's go ahead and get started with this special episode dedicated to one of my favorite games, Robot Alchemic Drive. This is a game that takes place in an alternate universe where all manned spaceflight has been banned after Nectar Radiance's discovery in 1981. This makes human exposure to outer space lethal. What does this have to do with the game? Well, nothing really. Even though you fight alien invaders, none of the action takes place in space, nor do we ever launch a weapon against them before they get to Earth. Maybe something got lost in translation, because the entire game is just about giant mechs fighting giant monsters. If that wasn't your first indication, this is a very Japanese game, and thanks to what seems like a very lazy localizing job, they left Enix surprisingly intact. And that's a great thing. You're going to find out that this game was translated pretty much verbatim, without any concern given to how Western audiences like us would interpret it, and that's the way it should always be. There are some trade-offs to this though. For instance, the dialogue is the second most robotic thing in this game after the giant robots themselves.
The mysterious giant war machine that defeated the hostile humanoid weapon has reappeared. It is simply immense. It must be at least 40 meters tall. It has been rumored to be a self-defense force secret weapon. However, the authorities have denied any knowledge of it. What exactly is this massive machine?
Have you ever wondered what it would sound like if a native Japanese voice actor imitated a German speaking English in a Japanese game?
Take Bavel. Use its superior combat abilities to get the job done quickly.
This game also has an old, unwelcome guest of ours tagging along. Unskippable cutscenes. I'm sure many of you watching this know a lot more about Japanese games than I do. Are unskippable cutscenes a typical thing in Japan? Do Japanese gamers want and expect to see this in their games? I'm really starting to wonder now. Sometimes you could speed these up by holding start, but it ends up looking like the characters are motorized. But let's get down to the gameplay already. The mechs in this game are called Mega Knights. The enemies are called Volgara. But the part I find most interesting is that despite what you might think after watching the gameplay, you don't play as a Mega Knight. Instead, you're a human who holds the controls to the Mega Knight, which conveniently look like a PS2 controller. Controlling the human is an important part of the game because you need to position yourself to have the best view of the action. You can even park yourself on your Mega Knight's head, but that can be dangerous, so it's always best to find the high ground. How do you get to the high ground? Well, you use one of the finest video game inventions that needs to exist in real life, the gravity drive.
Equipped you with the gravity drive, a portable anti-gravity device.
Alright scientists, stop all research on the hoverboard and start working on this thing instead. There are 3 different characters to choose from, and even among those main characters, this game has the worst voice acting I've ever heard.
Great! I've defended my perfect record of attendance.
And now, you're looking ghastly. Are you exhausted? You've been working yourself awfully hard lately.
I'm okay. Oh.
Now!
It's so bad that after a while it goes from irritating to amusing as you hear them channel their inner Matthew McConaughey.
It's heading for the Foundation. I have to do something.
You get 3 different Mega Knights to control, and each one has a nice variety of weapons to use in addition to their punches. I thought it was funny that when you're being introduced to the controls and weapons, your missiles are clearly hitting civilian areas. Each mech also has a super weapon that can be activated once it's fully charged. You control the Mega Knight by using the analog knobs to control each arm, and the shoulder buttons to control each leg. It seems like it would be difficult to use these controls, and it is disorienting at first, but it becomes very easy once you get the hang of it. I was the type of person who always thought vibration controls would be a fad. They're just too gimmicky, and even today I turn them off on a game that doesn't need them. But they're actually very useful in this game. As you walk, the controller vibrates with each step, so it helps you time your steps and makes the controls very intuitive. The controller also rumbles when buildings get destroyed and when your character is close to a mech. These vibrations give you a great sense of the scale and weight of everything around you, as well as the danger. This game has the best use of the vibration function I've ever seen. But while you get to understand the size and destructive power of your massive mech, someone obviously forgot to tell the city planner. Not only is it hard to move through the city, it's nearly impossible to defeat the Bulgara without causing an incredible amount of collateral damage. The designers use this very ingeniously, since the game has multiple endings for each character, depending on whether certain buildings that are important to them get destroyed. For instance, your character has a friend named Nanao. She loses her home very early in the game. As the game continues, you'll be notified that certain buildings, like where she works, should be defended. If these buildings are destroyed, you still go on to the next level, but the game's ending will change. I decided to be a jerk in my playthrough, so I wasn't very nice to Nanao.
She's now a poor,
My ending stated that she
student.
became a poor student, but according to Wikipedia, that's not the worst ending you can get for her. Apparently, if you make certain choices, Nanao will commit suicide. Again, I cannot stress how Japanese this game is. Had this game been localized with an American audience in mind, I'm sure that ending would have been cut. But that bad ending is pretty much hidden. No one would find it unless they already knew it was there. So the most unsettling moment in this game is found in a level during normal playthrough. In one level, your Mega Knight stops responding to you, and it's revealed that it started running a pre-programmed genocide mode. Trust me, that is not a typo or something mistranslated into English. In this mode, the Mega Knights you've been controlling will cull the human population, and those are direct quotes, by the way. Half the human population will be exterminated in order to create a new future with the Mega Knights. This scene also includes the only time that a Mega Knight actually speaks.
No.
Destroy it all.
And that's all it says.
I want to protect this city. Ellen. Nanao.
Destroy it all.
It keeps repeating it.
I understand now.
Destroy it all.
It's creepy. Even though the mechs move realistically slow, that only makes the action even more intense. You have to be clever in order to get your mech in the best position to defeat the enemy. This scene has been sped up 4 times its actual speed, just to show you how a typical fight can play out. While all of this is happening, you still have to worry about giving your human character the best vantage point of the action, while still staying far enough from harm's way, because remember, when you're hit, the Mega Knight is out of fight as well. I love the gameplay here. The best way I could describe it is, imagine if you were playing Shadow of the Colossus, but instead they had you control one Colossus fighting against another, but you still run around as a human as well. Now, our last episode was all about giant monster movies and Godzilla. This episode follows that general theme, but I feel like this game doesn't relate to Godzilla very well. Instead, it reminds me of another recent movie. Let's see. You're the operator of a giant mech designed for defense, and it fights other giant monsters who are alien invaders that arrive on Earth through some sort of interdimensional rift. What was that movie called? Atlantic Rim? Yeah, that's what it was. But the game does end up paying homage to Godzilla, and it's probably the best tribute to the Big G I've ever seen. It even pokes fun at the obligatory military scenes we see in all of his films.
When I was a kid, I loved giant monster movies. In those giant monster movies, ever notice how the JSDF is always useless?
Quiet, you!
The Foundation's robot has arrived. Gargantuan monster versus giant robot. A scene straight out of a science fiction movie is unfolding before our very eyes.
For a game that takes itself so seriously, it's nice to see the developers having a little bit of fun. And they earned it, because you can really tell they put a lot of hard work into this game. The graphics are crisp, and the detail and everything really pushes the PS2 to the limit, and sometimes beyond that. When too much is happening at once, the frame rate struggles to keep up. But if they were able to achieve this on a PS2, I can't imagine how it would have turned out had they made it on more capable hardware. But thankfully, the pre-rendered intro scene gives us a glimpse at what could have been. This game is begging for an HD remake. Come on, Kickstarter, let's make this happen.